I walked out after a boss tried to refuse to accept my resignation. So I had this job at a small marketing company, and my boss Rick was literally the worst human being I've ever worked for. Like, imagine the most condescending person you know, then multiply that by 10. This guy would call all the women in the office sweetie and hun like we were his daughters or something. Super gross. He'd promote guys who barely knew how to turn on a computer over women who'd been there for years and actually knew what they were doing. The pay was garbage too. I was making like 32 grand a year doing the work of 3 people, but I couldn't quit because rent doesn't pay itself, you know? So I kept applying to other places while dealing with Rick's daily dose of sexist comments and micromanaging. Finally, this competitor company called me back after like 6 weeks. The interview went amazing, and they offered me the job the same day. $48,000 a year, actual benefits, and a boss who seemed like a normal human being. I was so excited I could barely sleep that night. The next morning, I printed out my resignation letter on nice paper and everything. I walked into Rick's office around 10 a.m., right after he finished his 3rd cup of coffee and his usual rant about how millennials don't want to work anymore. "Rick, I need to give you this," I said, handing him the letter. He barely glanced at it before looking up at me with this annoying smirk. "Oh, sweetie, you know you can't leave." I thought he was joking at first. "What do you mean I can't leave?" "Well, I'm not accepting this, sugar. Guess you're here to stay." He actually leaned back in his chair like he'd just delivered the most clever comeback in history. That's when something just snapped in my brain. Like, who the hell does this guy think he is? "Excuse me? You heard me. I don't accept your resignation. We're too busy right now, and frankly, you're not ready for a bigger role somewhere else anyway." I stared at him for like 10 seconds, just processing the audacity. Then I pulled out my phone and called my new job right there in front of him. "Hi, this is Jessica. I know I was supposed to start in 2 weeks, but my current boss just tried to tell me he won't accept my resignation. Can I start tomorrow instead?" Rick's face went from smug to confused to completely pale. My new boss laughed and said of course I could start the next day. "Perfect. See you at 9 a.m., I said, hanging up. Then I looked directly at Rick. "Well, I guess I quit effective immediately then. Thanks for making this decision so easy." I walked to my desk and started shoving my stuff into a cardboard box I grabbed from the supply closet. My little succulent plant, my good stapler, my coffee mug that said "World's Okayest Employee." Rick followed me out of his office, completely speechless for once in his life. "You can't just leave," he finally stammered. "What about the Henderson Project? What about your responsibilities? Maybe you should have thought about that before trying to trap me here like some kind of indentured servant," I said, not even looking up from packing. My coworker Ashley was watching this whole thing go down from her cubicle, trying not to laugh. She later told me Rick stood there for like 5 more minutes after I left, just staring at my empty desk like he couldn't believe what happened. The funniest part? He called me 3 times that afternoon begging me to come back, left voicemails saying he might have been hasty and that we could work something out. I blocked his number after the 3rd call.